when your teammates are pulling for you and guys believe in you in that clubhouse, no matter if you're 10 for your last 10 or 0 for your last 10, like there's a confidence and a belief in each other that, like, really, I mean, we saw it last year. Like, our team should have never been where we were. Like, if you look at everything at the beginning of the year, we were supposed to win, like, 70 something games, whatever it was, and like, we had no business being at the top of that division. But we had a lot of guys who believed in each other. We had a lot of guys who, obviously we have a ton of talent too, don't get me wrong, but we had a ton of belief, and we had a ton of fun. And that really, I think is kind of the differentiating factor between teams that have a lot of talent and don't succeed, and teams that have, talent and really kind of take it to the next level.
Tell me what happened last night. Just get right to the bitter punch here, Coach Chad Chop. What was going on with you last night?
Man, my first official high school practice as head coach, Pushridge Christian Academy. Pretty cool.
You're the head coach of a baseball team.
I'm the head coach of a program. Isn't that awesome? Pretty cool. Yeah, it's amazing. So Tim O'Donohue was my head coach in high school. Coach Jennings, Greg Jennings, after Tim O'Donohue. Mike Bear's a mentor. Dave Roberts is a mentor. And I'm going to be leaning on my former coaches and trying to just emulate them. They were amazing. So I'm just thankful. It's cool.
What a cool kind of broken road you've had that has led you to this spot you're at now. Playing baseball at a very high level, and then being a fireman and doing some, off and on coaching while you're being a fireman. Then you get a job with the Giants, and you have tutelage from Sean Dunston and Bochy and the likes. And then you go to the Dodgers, and you've got Dave Roberts, and now it's led you to here. You're a high school baseball coach, and you're changing lives, brother.
It's pretty awesome. And it's one of those things where my main focus is making sure the kids know that I love them and I care about them, and I'm there for them and I'm available. So that's my main focus. We'll get to the baseball IQ. We'll get to all that stuff. And these kids have a very high baseball IQ. I was very impressed yesterday with our first practice, going through we did walkthroughs of like cuts and relays and double cuts, and they were on it. I was impressed. But more importantly, they got to know that their coach loves them and cares about them, and I'm here for them.
That takes the pressure off of you, man. Right?
Yes. Man.
When you're looking through that lens, well, then let's just make sure they know I care, and I'm going to be there for them on a bad day after a D- on their test, or their girlfriend breaks up with them. I'm there to talk and just, be an uncle or a big brother or whatever is going to make them feel comfortable in that moment. And oh yeah, the baseball IQ and the wins and the losses, that'll come. But hey, that's the message of this podcast. And who do we have on today, brother? I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah. I just want to channel my inner Coach Ballgame. That's my goal. You say, be a big brother, be a big uncle. Like, I want to be Coach Ballgame to him. But yeah, today we have a true professional. This guy is a pro through and through. Evan Longoria is on the show today. Longo in the house.
Longo in the house. Does everybody just call him Longo in the clubhouse?
I mean, I call him Longo. He's Longo in my phone. Yeah. So I go with Longo. But I mean, like I said, he's a professional, man. He's good at everything he does. And he tries to, like, he is intentional with everything that he does. If he's playing cards on the plane, you better be there and you better be present, or else he's going to wax you. If he's opening a bottle of wine, he's doing it the right way and letting it aerate. And I think that's the right term, but yeah,
that definitely is. I used to love, being a waiter for 10 years and knowing nothing about wine, but throwing out words like earthy tones,
yes,
and supple. And anytime somebody asked me, what's your favorite wine? I don't drink wine, but I didn't say that. I just said, I'm going to go with this one because of the earthy tones and the supple nature. and then make up a few words and then boom, hopefully you get a good tip. But
I couldn't even open the
Longo,
bottle of wine, coach
No.
ball game. I couldn't. So I would flirt with my coworkers, and then I would say, hey, table 23, I gotta do something real quick. With table 23, they need it. Can you go get that bottle of wine and open it for them? And they would do it all for me, and I would thank them. And yeah, I never opened a bottle of wine. I still to
That's
this day
amazing.
can't do it. Yeah, I would just use my charm.
I didn't know you were a waiter as well.
Oh
I
yeah,
missed
Tom.
that.
I worked at Lone Star Steakhouse Saloon, and then I also worked. That's in Tustin, right by where you do a lot of your sandlots. And then I also worked at Tommy Bahamas in Newport Beach. They have like a compound. So yeah, so I worked in the restaurant there too.
We should have named this podcast Two Waiters Talking Baseball.
Not a bad. That'll be our next venture.
I can't tell you how often I think of myself as a waiter. I'm just a waiter, and I happen to coach baseball, but it puts me in a nice humble spot. And I tell everybody, hey, I think you should wait tables at least once in your life just to get perspective and get a sense of work ethic. You tapped into something with Longo about his it sounded like a grinder mentality, a competitor. Grew up in Downey, received 0 scholarships out of high school, zip. So he went to community college, and I want to talk to him about that kind of transformation from community college to being humbled with no scholarships to getting a shot at Long Beach State and absolutely thriving. Very similar to Hunter Pence, who started in a JUCO or community college forum and then just jumped in full board. What do you know about Longo? What did you learn from him with your time with him?
Work ethic, top notch. He's intentional with his work. And I want to come back to what Hunter said when he said, and I'm paraphrasing, if you never quit, you can't be stopped. Right. So here's a guy, Longo, who, nobody was offering him a scholarship, but he just kept putting that right foot after the left. And, everyone knows him now, you know what I mean? But if he hadn't had that focus and that drive and that conviction, that belief in himself, when no one else believed, and we talk about this, where you have to believe in yourself and your mind before anyone else ever does. Well, he never lost that faith in himself, and he kept working and grinding and prove a coach wrong. If they say you can't do it, don't prove them right. Keep fighting, never quit. You can't be stopped. Longo.
And then, and it seemed like it happened almost overnight, where he put on 50, 60 pounds of muscle, and he goes from no scholarships to one of the best players in Southern California, and then 3rd overall pick in 2006 with the Rays. And, Baseball America's calling him the best pure hitter in the draft. How much time did you spend with him there in San Francisco?
We played a lot of cribbage, me and Longo. We were cribbage was our time spent. And then obviously I was doing cards on the plane. So,
yeah.
But you see his work, he's putting in his work, and he's, like I said, he's just a pro. Like, he's always, it feels like he's always doing the right thing. He's always doing it the right way in a professional manner. So, obviously I met him further on in his career. He'd already been this proven superstar, but, you can see why he's a superstar based on how he carries himself and his presence. When he walks into a room or a clubhouse, he walked into that San Francisco Giants clubhouse with a lot of these, great superstars, and he's a superstar among superstars, so it's pretty cool. He's really excited to have him on just to get a glimpse of his mind, and I want these kids and these coaches and these parents to hear, just Longo's approach on everything, man. He's a pro. True pro.
Seems like he's got an ease about his leadership, and the kind of guy you'd want to have him put your arm around, put your arm around me and show me the ropes here, Longo, because it just seems like there's no pressure when you're around him. It's an ease, kind of a presence, which I dig. And I don't have my guitar behind me. If you're watching on YouTube, I got my conga, because the dude's a drummer, and I can't wait to chat a little bit about drumming, because I hear he had a drum kit set up at Tropicana,
Love that.
A la Paul O'Neill at Yankee Stadium. So I'm going to geek out on drums and Yeah, talking with one of the best that played the game, 3-time All-Star, Rookie of the Year, Gold Glove, Silver Sluggers, hit for the cycle. And oh yes, we will be doing some trivia, bearded one. So get ready, some Evan Longoria trivia coming your way.
Longo, I think slow pulse, one of these guys that and I have that question for him, like how is he able to slow the game down in big moments? But as a teammate, as a fan, as a coach, you want him at the plate, in those big moments. As an opponent, you wish you could put him on or not see him coming up, because he's going to do big things. And he's just a stud, man. True pro.
Is it teachable? Is that slow pulse teachable? I want to ask anybody I notice, like a Javier Lopez, that question, or was it just natural? Sean Dunston, he was more frenetic, as we discussed last week, and he kind of wished he had that slower heartbeat and could calm things down and slow things down. So looking forward to it. Before we get to him, and I think he's here. I think he's here.
He's a pro. Of course, he's on time.
I'm gonna tease this this golf trip I had. It's every year, 3 days, and it's 24 guys go to the desert and we just rock and roll. We play golf and we emulate the Ryder Cup. So I'll tease that because there's some connections to what we've been talking about on the podcast about, preparation and getting ready for big moments and high leverage situations.
I'm going to throw a curveball today. I'm going to have Coach Ballgame introduce our next guest. I have written down on my whiteboard, he's a true pro, but I'd like to give out his accolades. Coach Ballgame, hit it.
Oh, snap. This is going to be lit. Folks, I got the drum in the background, not the guitar, because he's a drummer. Just nasty drummer to be exact. They call him Longo, 3-time All-Star, Rookie of the Year in 2008, 3 Gold Gloves, 2 Silver Sluggers, hit for the cycle in 2017, which makes me want to be a better father. He's just one of the best baseball players to ever play. But what I love about him is he's handsome, and he seems like he's got this ease about him that just it makes me want to be his little brother, even though I'm older than him. It's Evan Longoria. Nice to meet you, brother. Thanks for coming.
Nice to meet you too. That was one of the better intros that I've ever gotten. So, and it was going all over the place. I didn't know where you were going to end up. So
that's the key. If I don't know where I'm going, then the audience member can't know where I'm going. So that's kind of that's the secret. And that's how I coach. I coach kids for a living, and I have no idea what I'm going to say at any moment. And that keeps them on their toes. And that's what, I learned that in dance class in college, Chopper. You got to keep surprising the audience member.
You got to ad lib.
Yeah. What did you have written, Chopper, on your board about our guest?
Yeah. 2 words, kept it short, true pro. He's a professional. Longo, a presence when he walks in. I talked about, you walked into that clubhouse in San Francisco and is a superstar among superstars. There's a lot of personalities in that clubhouse, but Longo has a presence about him that actually puts other people at ease. And he's going to be ready, prepared. Huge fan of Longo. Yeah, big fan of you.
Well, thank you guys, and thanks for having me on. Maybe we can get to some easier questions so I don't have to talk about myself anymore.
We did all that before you came on. Chopper, lead us off, brother.
All right, I got a question for you, Longo. What do you like most about baseball? We ask a lot of our guests this question. Go for it. Hit us.
I think what drew me to baseball, obviously early on, was the competitiveness of it, the ever-changing nature of the game. Like you can never. It's truly a game that you will never perfect. You're always searching for something else. Trying to get better. There's obviously, if you're a position player, there's a lot of different areas that you got to work on. A little bit different than pitching, obviously. Pitching, I'm sure that it's got its areas, but you're not just towing the slab every day. You got to worry about playing in the field. You got to worry about hitting, the swing, all of those different things. So I think, me being a kid, early, like my mind is super busy. So I think I was just drawn to like trying to, harness and corral all these different skill sets and figure out a way to do it well.
I love that. And what I talk to my high school kids about is falling in love with the grind. And kind of that's the essence of kind of what you said, is that there's a lot that goes into it, and there's a lot of failure too. But
yeah,
for you, it's that competitiveness and just falling in love with the grind. I love that. You cleaned up some stuff with your swing. I don't know what you did, but like early last year and even the previous year, it was like, dude, because your swing's always great, but it looked better than great, if that's a thing. So I know, so that speaks to you grinding. You know what I mean? Like you're never satisfied and you're always working.
Yeah, and to be fair, I mean, some of that is coaching too. The evolution of the way that I've been taught to swing the bat. And I think a lot of it is age versus process. Like as I've gotten older, like my process has changed, and like I've tried to figure out ways to where I can get the most out of like a shorter work time, just working more efficiently. And like kudos to the coaches like Justin Veely, Dustin and Donnie Eckert, really kind of just looking biomechanically at like what my body has done well over the course of my career, and like how can we simplify that and get back to a place where I can make those moves efficiently. And so sometimes it's just a different perspective, it's a different set of eyes that can help you figure out some things that you knew were in there, but sometimes you just lose them when you're trying to do other things, you're trying to figure out other things.
Coach Ballgame.
I love it. It's like Tiger Woods. I mean, he just, he's had 3 different swing changes after winning multiple majors, and you just have to keep evolving and kind of diving into your story. It's pretty fun to see the grind that, I mean, you've, a lot of people probably didn't know about. I didn't really know about it till I researched early this morning, but I mean, coming out of high school, 0 scholarships, if I'm reading this correctly. And, you had a sniff at USC, but that didn't pan out. So going to community college out of high school, I kind of want to dissect that a little bit. Like, what is 18-year-old Evan Longoria thinking? Did you have thoughts of hanging it up, or was it within you to just grind until you're signed?
I think that was the good thing about the time that I was playing was, or maybe it was just me mental, where I was at mentally, but I never thought about any of that. Like I never thought, oh man, I'm not getting any offers. Like, maybe I'm just not a good enough baseball player, whatever. Like at the time, thankfully, I was in such a great, mental state, I guess, that I was more focused on just playing the game, having fun, going out and, like you guys have talked about, enjoying the process. When I went from high school to junior college, I was playing at a different high school, and one of my best friends, still one of my best friends to this day, Adam Lands, and he was playing baseball in high school at a different high school. And we just decided at that time that, again, just having fun, thinking about the process, thinking about how I can keep playing the game. We both decided to go to Rio Hondo Junior College. And I had a couple of opportunities to go play at some bigger junior colleges. I could have gone to like, Long Beach City or Cypress or, Santa Ana, some of these bigger like junior colleges that were local to me in LA. But he had an opportunity to play at Rio Hondo too. And so I just was like, whatever, like it's not this isn't the ultimate, goal. Like I'm not trying to just play baseball at Rio Hondo, but I looked at it as a stepping stone for me. We went there and had an amazing time playing ball together for that summer. And it was just a fun experience. I think that really like opened my eyes to like what playing with like good friends could be like, and like how, I mean, we grinded there, man. Like I remember we had this hill There was a fire academy right next door to Rio Hondo. We had this hill that we'd run up and down for conditioning, and we had all these like quirky things that we did. Mike Salazar, who's the head coach there still, kind of turned that program around with us and what he did there. And I think it taught us work ethic. It taught us, how to enjoy being baseball players. And there was a lot that I learned coming out of that program.
Amazing. And then reading about it, it seems like it happened overnight, where you gain 50 pounds of muscle and, you're MVP in the Cape, and, your third overall pick in the MLB draft. But I know it didn't happen overnight. Like for that 18-year-old that is grinding, what's something you can tell them that didn't happen overnight for you, that they can take with them?
I mean, I think the best thing about baseball is the fact that there's no cookie cutter way to get there, and there's no prototypical body type. You look around the league and there's guys that are, 5'6" to 6'6", and there's guys that are fast. There's guys that are fast twitch. There's guys that are, slugs like me and can just kind of get by with certain, skill sets and attributes that they work really hard on. And I think that as we move forward in the CBA, hopefully we are moving forward. I think that we will see a universal DH at some point. So, that kind of changes the game for some other players as well that maybe aren't as good in the field, or, just don't have those skill sets. But baseball is there's such a wide variety of players that can make it to the big leagues that, really the only thing that I ever think about, or I ever thought about, or I ever tell kids is like, just don't quit. Like, it's literally a battle of attrition. Like the people that want it the most will make it there, and I've seen so many players who were more physically gifted than me, fall by the wayside just because they don't have the desire to work, as long or as hard as somebody else.
Love it. Hunter Pence said it. What did he say last week, Chopper?
If you don't quit, you can't be stopped. If you never quit, you can't be stopped.
100%. I mean, Hunter is the king of the pump up speech and the one liner. I mean, the guy is an unbelievable orator. So, there's no doubt in my mind that he gave you guys a couple of special quotes.
Yeah. So you talk about, body types, right? And like it's 5'6" to 6'6", and there's that variability in body types. But what there is no variability, or the one constant, is a belief in yourself. Yeah. You know what I mean? So like you never lost that belief. So what we're trying to instill in these kids that are listening to this podcast is believe in yourself. And even if no one else around you believes, like, have conviction, an unwavering belief in your ability. And you have to have that. And you had that and still have it. Next question. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, it's just very hard, obviously, because it's a game of failure, and it's like what comes first, the chicken or the egg type scenario, where it's like, do you need to have success to believe in yourself, or can you believe in yourself without having any success, and does that lead to future success? So, it's obviously a tough point for younger kids who don't understand that.
Yeah. One of my core values for the high school here is a trust, and it's trust, commitment, and love. And it's a trust in the process. So you may not get those results right away. And Hunter said that. He talked about results are crippling. But it's that trust in the process, and your coach and your teammates and yourself. And you may not see it right away, but if you don't quit, we got action.
Yeah, for sure.
Beautiful.
Question I have is, and Adam, sounds like that's one of your close friends. So it doesn't have to be necessarily in the big leagues, but your teammate, Mount Rushmore, that's 4 faces, and you can do some honorable mentions, and you played with a lot of great players. So you
4 faces.
Yeah, give me 4 if you can.
You sent me the questions before, and I didn't look at them. So maybe if I would have looked at that one, then I would have had.
This is always the toughest for everyone.
It is,
because it's hard to narrow that down.
Yeah, I think so. Probably number 1 is David Price, and I guess there's no like real true order to it. Just if I'm picking 4 people, David Price, probably BJ Upton as well. The two guys that I played probably the longest with there in Tampa, and had probably, kind of the most impact on me in terms of like my young development as a major leaguer. Actually, yeah, I mean, it's really hard. Like there was two veterans and two young guys. So it was obviously Cliff Floyd and Eric Kinski who were the veteran guys there my first year. And then David and BJ were like my close companions. So we'll put the two veteran guys in the honorable mentions category. And David and BJ were like, we were in the streets every day, so that was kind of, those were the guys. And then two from San Francisco would be Buster and Brandon Crawford. And, just because Brandon, I've played the longest next to him, he's had the most impact on me. I think just in terms of like watching a guy who just like grinds every day, who's, an all-star, just the best shortstop I've ever played with, the best infielder I think I've ever played with, knowledge of the game, like love of the game. Like, you've been around Craw, like he's just like, he's a true pro. Like I watch him some days when like I don't take a whole lot of ground balls on the field, and he's out there every day taking ground balls. And so it's like there's no surprise why he's so good, and there should be no surprise why he's up there on that list for me in terms of teammates.
I love that. Love Craw, that about me.
Yeah.
Love David Price. DP, you want to talk about a true pro. And I didn't know him. I just saw him from afar. And then when he came to the Dodgers, I was blown away. Like I always saw him as like, okay, dude, those hard, those are by guys. And then I watched him throw a bullpen, and I'm like, he's putting this on a Nats behind every pitch, and he's maniacal. And what a great dude. He treats everyone like
it's not cool. That's what I love about David is I think he treats everybody the same, but he also like he pulls harder for all of his teammates, pitchers, hitters, bench players, starters. Like he's just an unbelievable teammate. And I think that always will get a guy up on the list, if a guy's like rooting for everybody.
So Coach Ballgame, and Longo, you may or may not know this, he volunteered. He's like, hey, we got a lot of studs, I'll go to the pen. So here's this stud who's like, I'll go to the bullpen, it's all good. And he's in full spikes from the first pitch of the game with his glove ready to catch home runs in the bullpen at Dodger Stadium, like pulling for his teammates. Longo, that doesn't surprise you. It's amazing. DP.
Yeah, he's great.
He's great. Great Mountain Rushmore. Coach Ballgame.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about it all the time on this podcast. Like you got the 5 tools, you got the nasty slider, but it's that intangible or that character quality that keeps coming up. Like that's the person you want in the clubhouse. That's the person you want, going and having a glass of milk with you during a slump. Like just that guy you can have. Speak to that quality, that word character that keeps coming up, Evan. What does that mean for a young player?
I mean, I think it's literally everything, because I believe you could win championships with 26 guys now that are middle of the road ball players, but high character guys. Because if you have a group of just like prima donna guys who like will not pull for each other, only care about their own personal statistics, it's really hard to like mesh as a bunch, and like when you're not pulling for your teammates, like it's really, to me, there's really no fun in the game, like it's because especially because there is so much failure, like you're going to fail a ton. And if you feel all alone out there and you feel like nobody else is pulling for you, like it's a dark, like downward path if you're just like alone on that, and like, when your teammates are pulling for you and guys believe in you in that clubhouse, no matter if you're, 10 for your last 10 or 0 for your last 10, like there's a confidence and a belief in each other that like really, I mean, we saw it last year, like our team should have never been where we were, like if you look at everything at the beginning of the year, we were supposed to win like, 70 something games, whatever it was. And like, we had no business being at the top of that division, but we had a lot of guys who believed in each other. We had a lot of guys who, obviously we have a ton of talent too. Don't get me wrong, but we had a ton of belief and we had a ton of fun. And that really, I think is kind of the differentiating factor between teams that have a lot of talent and don't succeed, and teams that have, talent and really kind of take it to the next level.
Yeah, that was one of my questions is, why were you so good last year? And you answered it. You just you had that that intangible thing, that belief in each other. And the Dodgers are winning game after game down the stretch, and you guys are winning game after game right on top of them. It was fun to watch. Chopper, you were in the Dodgers clubhouse. I mean, what did it feel like for you guys?
Unique situation for me because I have so much love for those guys in that Giants clubhouse, and I was really proud of them. Like, that was the crazy thing, is like this proud, because I know that culture is set from the coaching staff, but then it's set from the leaders and the elders and Longo and Craw and Belt and Buster. And I have so much love for these guys that I was in a pretty cool spot, because it was like, yeah, we wanted to win the division, but I was blown away. I'm like, holy cow, they found a way to win. And that is having conviction. They believed in each other, and y'all had so much fun. And talking to Tyra, and you guys would come into town, and you a little bit too. And it's just like, this is so cool to watch from afar, because no one had them pegged. You can't measure heart, and you can't measure just chemistry. It was cool.
Yeah. There was a lot of times where we were like, man, how are we doing this? But you start to look around and you realize we've got a lot of dudes who have a lot of talent, but there's a ton of belief here too,
Yeah, no doubt. And the Duggars,
guys like Lamont, guys like Tyro Estrada, just guys stepping in and making an impact, Dubon, just big situations where it was well, if anybody comes up, we feel like they could get the big hit, or where they could, steal a base here or whatever it was that we needed at the time. We felt like we had guys that could do it.
Yeah, no doubt. Question I have for you, who had a positive influence on you in your youth besides your parents? Like a coach, teacher?
Probably the biggest, impact on me in terms of my baseball career was Mike Weathers, the head coach at Long Beach State when I was there. That's not to obviously minimize any of the interactions that I had along the way, but I think just in terms of narrowing my focus on the game and understanding that as if I really wanted to move forward and be the best player, the best version of myself as a player that I could be, I needed to do it this way. He was the guy. And he was really hard on me. And not to the point where he would just rocket ground balls at my shins, but I think more mentally he was on me, kind of every day. And I saw it my first year with Troy Tulowitzki there, and he was kind of the same way with him. He was on him every day about, just kind of perfection. He wanted us to do everything perfect, and we would stay there until, we didn't have lights. So until there was barely any light out on the practice fields. If we did it right, we'd leave on time, but we rarely ever did it right, whether it was, cutoff throws or the defensive plays, getting bunts down, whatever it was. He kind of taught me that it wasn't going to be easy, that there was going to be some work that was involved to figure out how to be good at this game. And especially at the higher levels, how consistency is really the only key. If you can do something consistently, you will have a chance to advance much quicker, than really any kind of hot streak, I feel like professional scouts, that's what they see the most is oh, this guy, maybe he doesn't light the world up for 2 months, but he hits 270 or he fields every ground ball. He makes every little thing look easy, and he does it every time. That's the most important thing, I feel especially when I look at teammates now in the big leagues, and I'm Do I want this guy to, get a ground ball when it's, 6-6 in the bottom of the ninth or whatever, 7-6, and we're up and it's a rocket? Like, can he make that play every time? Like, yeah, like that's the guy you want.
And that's the difference from minor leaguers and major leaguers, right? The minor leaguers have the talent. They just don't have the consistency.
Yeah. And that's all it is.
Yeah. I love that. He taught you how to fall in love with the grind.
Yeah, for sure. Without a doubt. I mean, we grinded there. So yeah, you had no choice but to love it.
I love that. Coach Ballgame?
The key is you were ready to handle that type of whatever you want to call pressure or, that firm hand. I think a lot of times Little League coaches, they stress perfection on their 8-year-olds. And I think it's apples to oranges for me personally. Yeah. Like when you're trying to win a game when you're 8, the kid in the flannel shirt and blue jeans, they're going to walk away from baseball and never play again, So maybe just speak to that. Like, is there a difference between Little League and, when it really matters in college?
Well, the answer is yes, for sure. Yeah. But I think that that's part of the reason why he was able to get so much out of me. And I think, also one of the reasons why if I ever talk to anybody about, kids, young coaches, kids, whoever it is, like about the game, it's like the game should be fun. Like the game should never stop being fun. When it stops being fun, that's when like, I'm kind of, I'm starting to approach that now where it's like, the amount of work that it takes to get ready to play the game, like at times it's not fun, and so it should be fun always. Like I've enjoyed like every day of work in my whole career, like going to work, being with the guys, the grind of like getting to the cage, taking my swings, whatever, like that's always been fun. And so with kids, as soon as it becomes not fun, then that's when, like you said, they walk away. It's just not something that they want to do anymore. So I think coaches that are able to find that happy medium where it's like, you go to practice and you're accomplishing things and you're getting kids to understand the rules of the game and like the basic mechanics of the game, but they're also having a good time. Like, I think that that's when the team gets better. That's when the players get better. But yeah, I mean, if I would have had, like, thankfully my dad wasn't like that. Thankfully I didn't have coaches that were like that, like at age 8, sure, he was on me, sure, he was like, yeah, like, that's not the way you do it. Or, you run left around the bases or whatever it was. But like, if he would have been like just wearing me out from like a super early age, like I know kids like that, like who are in the big leagues that have made it to the big leagues that are like, they hate baseball. They're like, God, my dad was just like rode me, or whoever it was. Like I had coaches that, just taught me that the game wasn't fun. And like, I'm like so thankful that I had coaches early on that, allowed me to like be myself, be a kid and like enjoy it and also get better at the game.
That's good. Yeah. My best friend, he was pushed to be a major leaguer when he was 8. And then when he became the starting third baseman at UNC, he just wanted to be a kid, it just kind of, it worked backwards. So I saw that firsthand, and that really drove me down the road I'm at. I want to switch topics here, Chopper.
I'll say one thing on that real quick. And we said this early in the podcast. As coaches, your intensity will not fuel your players' passion, right? Your intensity will not fuel their passion. These kids are going to love this game and they're going to have that passion and that drive. Don't ruin it by being super intense when they're young. Like, make sure they fall in love with the game. Longo, you talked about loving the game with your buddy Adam at Rio Hondo, and that love probably took you through to where you were willing to grind at Long Beach State because you were ingrained with this love of the game.
Yeah, I think what is most important to understand is at what you're doing right now. Those kids are there to play baseball. Like they know what they're in for. Like if you're coaching an 8-year-old, they're learning to love the game of baseball. They're not learning to play the game. Like you should be teaching them to enjoy being out there with their teammates and their friends. And like I have 2 nephews. Both of them love baseball. They're like 5 or 6 years apart. One is 10 or 11, I can't remember. Their birthdays are in January, so they just turned, I think, 11 and 6. Short story, but the 11-year-old they're both good ball players, but like I look at them and I can see a mental difference in both of them. Like the 11-year-old has been playing since he was 5 or 6, but he I don't see that he loves the game. I see that he's okay at it, but he plays it for the social aspect of it. He likes being around his friends. He likes doing that. The 5-year-old has been playing in the dirt since he was like 3 with his younger brother at the ball fields, and he's a baller. Like you can just see a difference, where he's probably not going to need to be taught to love the game. He's going to be the kid that you're going to be tough on, that you can like really push because he can take it, and he already loves the game.
Sounds like Bo Chop.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like your boy when we were out there, it's like you can get on him because it's not going to push him away from the game.
Totally. Yeah.
That's the first thing you got to look for as a youth coach is what playing field are they on? That's why I give each kid a nickname. I get to know each one and find out their personality and where they play, what their love is for the game. And then, give them a nickname based on that. And then I know, okay, I can push this one, or I just need to, this kid just needs to be here. They, they just need to be around others. So that's awesome. That's a huge soundbite for me. Yeah. Before I hit a trivia question, before we let him go, Chopper, anything else?
I had one more question, and I think Longo can answer this fairly quickly. But what tools do you use to slow the game down in big moments? We talk about breathing a lot on here, but what's a couple tools? Because you're really good in those big moments. I always want you at the plate.
I mean, I think that like really, without like using the cliche stuff, like the especially as you get like to the higher levels, like there's so much information out there. And I think just like for me, like trying to have as much of that as I can, but like as much that I'm able to process too. Like, sometimes people are not like able to process all of those things. And then it means nothing, like if you have all this information, but you can't like think through it in the moment, then it's kind of irrelevant. So I try to like, think about like really singularly one thing, like what am I really looking to do here? Can I laser focus in on just one thing, because most of the time, if you are unsuccessful in a big situation, a big at bat, you make an error in the field, like most of the time you think back and you're like, man, I had like way too many things going through my head there, and like, I think that the ability to like really singularly focus on one thing is like what really good players do. They're able to like just have that focus on one thing.
Love it.
Single and positive. Well, Longo, you need to go. We'll get you out of here now.
It's 24 right now. You got to get out of here.
I'm getting ready to go to my yoga class today. So
get out of here. We appreciate you. We'll have you on again. Hey, we'll have you on again if that's all right.
Of course.
I appreciate you, man. Have a great day. We appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you guys. That was awesome.
See you, dude.
Peace.
Longo, man. I mean, what a pro.
There's a couple different sound bites there. I'll be popping on social media for sure. You could tell he's got a passion about coaching. I could see him maybe going into coaching or something like that down the road. Just how well spoken he is on the different kind of pockets of baseball there are, depending on age groups and skill levels.
Great communicator. And you're right, knowing your audience. So it's half of the equation to have the knowledge, but then it's the other half of how do you communicate it? Who do you communicate it to? And when do you communicate it? So yeah, I mean, true pro. I mean, he showed up a minute early. We got him out of here a minute early, just out of respect for his proness, which is probably not a word, but if it were, he would be the picture to define proness. Being
absolutely. Well, I over prepared and didn't get to a lot of it, so we'll have to have him back on for sure.
He'll come back.
I want to talk about his drumming at Tropicana. I want him to give me some dad advice. He's got 3 kids now. Had some pepper questions, but there was some good trivia. And here's a good one that involves your world, Chopper. He hit for the cycle August 1st, 2017. He became the first player ever to hit for the cycle while having one of his hits ... Can you finish that sentence?
Being overturned by a challenge.
How'd you know that?
I guess because you said you gave me a clue as a good co-host. You gave me a clue.
Originally called out on a double in the ninth, and then it gets reviewed, and he's safe, and he gets the cycle.
I love it.
First time that ever happened.
That's awesome.
How cool is that?
That's incredible.
I'm sure he remembers that. It's his only cycle. Also in 2008, he was the first to hit 2 postseason at-bat bombs. His first 2 postseason at-bats were bombs.
It's so cool.
Right when you sniff the big stage, you hit 2 bombs. Who's the only other guy to do that? And it was his hitting coach in Durham for the Durham Bulls. Wow. My hint for you there, this guy did it in 1987 for the Twins, and he had a lot of luscious arm hair.
Dan Gladden?
I'll give you one more hint. Dan Gladden had some good arm hair. He was king of the no ear flap helmet.
Man, on the Twins.
Twins, 87. His first 2 postseason at bats were also home runs.
Was he a lefty?
I'm sure some of the listeners are righty. Also a great third baseman.
Oh, Gary Gaetti.
Correct. Gary Gaetti. And he was his hitting coach for the Durham Bulls.
That's pretty cool.
So cool. So we'll have him back on. I've got a laundry list of trivia. He owned CC Sabathia, famous for that. Like when you go down the list of most hits for Evan Longoria, most plate appearances, most RBIs, it's Sabathia all the way. Wow. Except for home runs. Any guesses on who he hit the most home runs off of?
Someone in the AL East, I would imagine.
Yep.
Probably a lefty, I would imagine. Might not be, but I would imagine a lefty. He hit both sides well. Can you give me the initials of the pitcher? Will that give it away?
Deal. He hit 9 bombs off a guy with the initials CT.
Gosh, that didn't really help like I hoped it
Baltimore Oriole pitcher Chris Tillman.
Chris Tillman, who's from, he went to Fountain Valley High School, which is where my brother coaches. Chris Tillman.
No way.
Yes. Fountain Valley, Orange County.
There you go. What count does he have the most home runs? 0-0. Who struck him out the most? This is a future Hall of Famer. Yeah. Any guesses there? The one guy that owned him.
AL East, righty with a good slider, I would imagine. Probably threw hard too. Can I get the initials for fun?
Surprisingly, all those attributes are incorrect.
Oh, good.
But he's
lefty,
got the
soft lefty.
Same initials as me.
Okay.
JL.
Jeremy. I don't know.
John Lester.
Johnny L. Faced John Lester. I faced him. He wasn't the same pitcher. He wasn't the same pitcher. I faced him when he was coming up in the Boston organization, and he was a little bit more erratic back then. He was still learning his command. He didn't have that cutter yet, but really good 2-seam. But he would miss up with it quite a bit. Obviously, an incredible talent. But I was 22, and he was at a high school, so it really wasn't fair. But faced John Lester, faced Cole Hamels.
Yeah,
faced Scott Kazmir. So these are all these lefties that I faced as a left-handed hitter. And Johnny Lester, you knew he's going to be really good. And then obviously he got that command and that cutter that really set him apart. But a competitor, John Lester.
Love it, dude. Love it. Well, just to put a button on Longo, man, the intangibles that the Giants had last year of working together as a team, and love how he unpacked that a little bit. I'll let you close up shop on him.
I mean, being in that division against them, right? And you're just like, you really believed in our clubhouse. Obviously, it was just like, hey, just stay the course, control what we can control. And then that last month of the season, this is unsustainable success, is what it was seen from the outside, right? But then you start seeing it and realizing that there's just no quitting these guys. And it's that chemistry, it's that conviction, that belief. And it goes from like, how are they doing it? Almost to like a respect of like, man, they're doing it. You know what I mean? And it was going to come down to, we knew we'd have to go into San Francisco with them having home field advantage. And we were going to have to find a way to slay the giant, no pun intended, but they were this true giant of chemistry and love and belief. And I talked to their head clubby, Brad Grimes, who I love. What a great dude. And we should have him on here. We will one of these days. Just a pro at his profession. He's incredible.
I'd love to unpack that job.
Alex Torres with the Dodgers too is equally as professional and awesome. But Brad talked about, like, we knew it was our year. And then when we beat them, it was almost disbelief. They couldn't believe it, because it is like everything through their belief and their process and their love in each other, everything kind of went their way. And then when we beat him, it was just like, no, that wasn't how it was supposed to be. So that's how difficult it was. They were truly a team of destiny. And like Hunter talks about, they had so many guys believing the right things and professing the right things. And there's power in that, a tremendous power. And it took everything that we had to beat them. And, and then we go down 2-0 to Atlanta. Maybe that was had something to do with how much it took to beat the Giants. Nothing to not to take away from Atlanta. They're World Series champions and they're great. And they got Jock Peterson on that team, who we got to have on this podcast too.
Yes, please.
And
yes.
Freddie Freeman and all those studs over there.
Come on, bring them on.
Ron Washington, who instills just work ethic that I do his drills every day with our infielders. And Wash is just a pro. So you talk about not being complacent. Those guys are out there in the LCS, putting in their early work, grinding, trying to get over the hump, and they did it. So kudos to the Braves, well-deserved World Series champions.
So good, man. On deck for the podcast, who we got? We got Ian Kinsler next week. Can't wait to talk to him about all things baseball. He's forgotten more baseball than I know. So there's Ian Kinsler, and then pitcher right now. He doesn't know where he's going to be playing, what team he's going to be with, but he throws absolute cheddar cheese gas. Daniel Bard. So I want to chat with him about just the present day affairs of baseball and things of that nature. And then batting third will be he needs no introduction, Albert Pujols. So
I've heard of him. I've heard of that. I've heard
about that guy.
Yeah, I heard of all these guys. Daniel Bard, I'm really excited to talk about just the mental side of things, right? Because he had that spell where he couldn't throw some strikes, and he left the game, probably fell out of love with the game, and then that love seeped back in. And I think he was a mental skills coach, right? So he learned all these tools, and then now he's using them. And you want to talk about a piece, a late inning closer, huge piece of a bullpen. Like, man, this dude is just nasty. We had Blake Trinan on. He's torn from the same cloth. Nasty.
Same thing. And Bard, he likes our podcast. He listens. That's pretty cool. He wanted to be on the lineup. So we're dialed in there, and we'll keep them coming as hopefully spring training begins. I did tease something before we close. It was the big Ryder Cup that me and 23 guys go on. And man, I can't tell you how many quotes we used from the Hunter Pence episode in our group text thread. We're Team Europe, 12 guys. We had won 2 in a row and 5 of 7 going into this year, trying to get the three-peat. And there were quotes of results will cripple you. And if you don't quit, you can't be stopped, and all these great quotes for one-liners. And I think it helped us. We dominated once again. Each day we had more and more points. And me, on a personal level, I used a lot of these things we've been talking about on this podcast in preparation for, I've always been a 7-8 handicap solid, one of the lower A players. And I was able to step it up a notch, just falling in love with the process and the process of how difficult this game is. Right. And golf, it's just as difficult as baseball, especially as a hitter. It's a game of failure. The best of the best, Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas, they're like, you're never perfect in this game. There's always something going on, a swing change, something. So golf is so multifaceted. You can have the driver going, you can have the 3-wood going, but then, the putter fails you, or vice versa. So just falling in love with that process of getting better. It helped me. And, I didn't turn into a scratch golfer overnight or anything, but, definitely improvements.
Golf. Congrats, coach. That's awesome. I had a buddy I played with yesterday who was a former pro. And so it was really cool. And he talked about like what Longo said about a singular focus. He said one thing around hole 14. He goes, "Do you mind if I give you a little bit of advice?" And I said, "Oh, I'd love advice. That'd be great." And he said, "Just be mindful of your tempo." So, and singular, and that was it. And he said, anytime you get a little quick with your upper half, obviously I'm no longer connected, and then snap hook comes into play. So from hole 14 on, I was either 1 under or even par. And my driver all of a sudden had this little baby draw right down the middle. And my irons were clean and I was striking them pure, and didn't help my putter. But everything else got really good, really quick. And it was just because I had a singular focus about tempo. So pretty cool.
Tempo, that's a big one for me too. And I don't really remember ever thinking that word as a hitter in baseball. Like no. you're not thinking tempo, you're seeing ball, you're reacting to ball, you're trying to be quick to ball. So that's something I've had to work on a lot. Just staying smooth and connected. That's a word. I tried to think of, 1 or 2 words over the ball, and one was pure and one was connected or tight. I can get loose and, all this stuff that you don't want to do in baseball or golf. But if you can just stay connected, then the core muscles are doing all the work. And it works for a hitter like Evan Longoria. It works for a golfer like a Justin Thomas or a Jordan Spieth. It can work for anybody. So really fun. I also just recommend finding 3 days out of the year with your buddies and go play a competitive, match in golf, or just go do something fun. Go climb some mountains, camp out. Definitely spiritual. I left my phone in the car. I always do whenever I go golfing. I leave my phone in the car, and I try to walk as much as I can and just stay away from the rest of the world. So it's pretty good.
Good advice for coaches too. Anytime you can get your group off the field to come together and do something fun. If it's a golf outing, if they're obviously a little bit older, if it's community service, if it's, pulling weeds in a neighbor's yard, serving others, anytime you can do that, first of all, it's the right thing to do, right? To love your neighbor. But second of all, too, you get that bond and it gets tighter than you could ever get it on the field. And then all of a sudden, so many coaches are like, "Oh, I don't want to miss a day at practice," but you'll see how many times over that will make you a better club by coming together and spending that time and that fellowship and just building that love and that bond that you have with your friends. And as coaches, like that's a tool that we don't use enough. Do some community service together. Go volunteer at a food bank. Go help a family that needs some help. Maybe your parents can donate a few bucks and you can go bless a family around Christmas time that that isn't as fortunate as we are. So
I'm excited to see what
Rake, right?
Head coach Chopper is going to do with his team, to build some camaraderie. That'll be pretty cool. Something I'm doing this week on the final week of Sandlot. I'm dressing up like Old Man Wrigley. So I've got a onesie and a big beard, just to really explore the space. But also at the end of every Sandlot season, we bring each kid up one at a time, and we have the team say nice things about him. What'd you learn about this kid? Maybe it was week 1, maybe it was week 4, maybe it was today, something that made you say, "Oh snap, he's lit, and I want to be a better person because of him." And boy, that's a great way to spend 10, 20 minutes with your team, just leaning into positive reinforcement and being vulnerable. A lot of kids, they don't want to raise their hand and say a compliment about somebody else, so it shows the importance in that. It's good.
And it opens their eyes to start looking for those things. We started that as well. There's this training that my athletic director, Lonnie Taverdi, who's awesome, he's having us do. It's called 3D coaching or 3-dimensional coaching. And one of the things they talk about, it's called spotlighting. And it's exactly what you just said. Where at the end of a practice, you bring up one of your players and everyone else talks about everything they bring to the field outside of baseball. So I brought up Brody Young the other day, and you should have heard what his teammates had to say about him. High energy, prepared, my favorite one, and they had probably 7, 8, 9 different things to say, but my very favorite one that was said is he's a good friend. And it blew me away. I got emotional, and it's just like, is there a higher praise that you can hear from your peers? And it's just cool. And Troy Massey, we did him the day before. And when they were done saying nice things about Troy, I asked Troy, I said, how'd that feel, Troy? And he's like, it felt good, coach. You know, so it's
Yeah.
like, it's just building that love. And of course you do that, Coach Ballgame, because you're the best. And you know, I just learned that, and we're doing that, and we're gonna run with that as well. So
I love when, you know, when a batter is up to bat and I say, who can cheer the loudest for so-and-so, whatever their nickname is. And then you start to hear these chants of this kid's nickname. And I just look at the kid and I say, they're cheering for you,
Yeah.
you know? And,
So cool.
and,
So
and,
powerful.
and, you know, a lot of times the kid will be like,
Yeah.
all right, it's kind of nice.
I love it. They relax
Easy.
a little bit, and then they get to, you know, being awesome is a full-time job.
So
love
fun,
that.
man.
Don't
Well,
forget to
hey,
rake. Don't forget to rake,
man.
everybody.
This was really fun.
It was.
Keep listening, keep telling other people about it, and we'll keep dishing them out because it's life-giving for us. That's for sure.
100%. You're the best, buddy. Have a great week.
Attaboy.
See ya.